Welcome na naman sa ating panibagong episode ng SDG Online Tambayan. So, hello mga katambay, ako si Rans, wala si Franz ngayon. Franz, kung nasan ka man, ingat ka dyan. At marami tayong pag-uusapan ngayong araw na ito. Isa na doon ang kung nakita nyo yung SDG Asks natin, pag-uusapan natin ikaw mismo. Yan, pag-uusapan natin ikaw mismo. Kung sa mga nanonood, please comment down below yung mga insights nyo at i-share nyo na din ito sa mga Facebook, Twitter, at kung saan-saan pa sa mga GCs, group chats nyo, i-share nyo na din ito. At bago tayo mag-start, i-check muna natin ang ating COVID-19 updates. Ayan, i-check natin ang ating COVID-19 updates ngayon. Wait lang. Ayan. Ang COVID-19 updates natin, ang cases natin ngayon sa Pilipinas as of October 2, 2020, ang total cases natin na active ay 56,445 na. Ang total cases natin lahat-lahat ay 316,678. May nadagdag tayo ngayong araw na 2,611 cases. Ang total deaths natin ay 5,616. May nadagdag tayong 56 deaths. At medyo madaming recoveries ngayong araw na ito dahil meron tayong nadagdag na 416 recoveries. Going total ng recoveries natin ay 254,617. Ayan, panitalihing ang social distancing at magugas ng amay, hygiene para sa ating lahat, and stay safe. Ngayon, simulan na natin ang ating kwentuhan at kulitan sa ating episode 7 ng SDG Online Tambayan. Ayun, magandang gabi sa inyong lahat at welcome na naman sa isang episode ng SDG Online Tambayan Season 2.
Ito ang kulitan at kwentuhan na pinag-uusapan ang Sustainable Development Goals. Ito ay inihahandog ng 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines Incorporated at QUARANTALK Media. So, hey guys! Ako si Kai.
Hello. Ako na naman si Rans at medyo dalawa lang kami yung kasama nyo. Pero marami tayong pag-uusapan ngayon, di ba?
Totoo, very exciting din yung topic natin at relevant lalo na sa panahon ngayon, di ba?
Totoo. At yun na nga, Kai, di ba? Simulan na natin yung next segment natin. Ano ba yung first segment natin ngayong gabi, Kai?
So, ayan, mag-proceed na tayo sa unang segment natin, ang SDG Asks. Yun. So, ano nga ba yung tanong natin for this week?
Sa lahat ng nanonood sa atin sa naaraang 7 linggo, baka nagulat kayo kasi 'di ba nagkakamustahan tayo bago tayo mag-SDG Ask. Ngayon, ang pagkakaiba, ang SDG Ask natin ay yung kamusta ka. Yun yung mga tinanong natin. So lahat ng mga nanonood, kamusta ka? Kamusta ka ba ngayon? Ikaw, Kai, kamusta ka?
Nako, pagod na ako. Ilang araw na ako walang tulog. Pero okay lang, laban pa rin tayo na laban dito, di ba? Siyempre. Basta ikakasaya natin. Ikaw ba?
Mas mabuti na yung walang tulog kesa walang gising. Di ba?
Gising. Tama. Mabuti naman yan.
Ako, medyo nagko-cope up pa din sa mga nangyayari. 200 first day na natin ngayon. Ngayong araw, October 2, sa quarantine. So, medyo, naalabas ka na ba? Naalabas ka na ba ng bahay? Anong mga ginagawa mo?
Nakalabas na rin ako ilang beses. Like, either nag-grocery o kaya pumunta sa dentist, ganun. Pero hindi pa ako lumalabas na para gumala. Kasi syempre, dapat mabait tayo.
So, sorry na, di ba? Sorry agad.
Hindi pa rin kasi recommended, di ba? Ako, ikaw talaga. Ikaw, nakailang
sorry,
labas ka
sorry.
na.
Lumalabas ako para bumili ng pagkain. Gusto ko din yung may mga dentist tayo appointment, no?
Oo. Pero
At
gets ko
yun,
naman dahil kapag lumalabas. Kasi 'di ba, syempre, para rin 'yan sa ikakabuti ng mental health natin. Di ba?
Totoo. Kasi ang hirap nga nung nandito ka lang sa loob ng bahay,
Mm.
tapos ang mga nangyayari sa atin ngayon, uso yung mga Netflix party, mga watch party ng Netflix, yan, para
Oo.
mag-compete tayo. Yan. So, sila kaya, yung mga nanonood, guys, kamusta na kayo? Comment na lang sa baba kung okay kayo, okay na okay, or hindi okay. Ayos lang naman hindi maging okay ngayon. Ayos lang
Oo
yan.
naman. Acceptable. So,
So,
kamusta
punta
nga
na
ba kayong
tayo.
lahat?
Yun, kamusta na kaya sila? Tingnan
Mhm.
natin kung kamusta na sila. Uh, Tuloy na tayo.
Aha.
Bago tayo tumagal dito sa kamustahan kasi medyo marami tayong pag-uusapan sa kamustahan. Tuloy na tayo sa ating next segment, ang SDG Challenge. Yan.
So, yung
Mabilis lang yung
SDG
SDG
challenge
Challenge.
natin, oo. Pero napaka-relevant pa rin nito. Actually, na-mention na kanina, di ba? Mental health. Ano nga ba yung SDG challenge natin ngayon, Rod?
Yan, yung SDG Challenge natin ngayon tungkol sa mga dates. Gusto mo ba ito? Mga
Date?
dates.
Date? May date? Sinong ka-date?
Nako, yan yung gusto natin, pero hindi yan yung pag-uusapan natin. Mga petsa. Yan. Pag
Date.
mga
Yung date na
15-21,
yun.
yan, date. Kasi nag-research tayo, ayon sa
Oo.
DOH, sa kanilang 2020 calendar of events, magbibigay kami ng mga ino-observe nating araw, tapos sagutin natin kung anong buwan o anong araw ito ino-observe.
Go. Tignan natin kung alam
Ready
ko
ka na
to.
ba?
Yes.
So, Kai, kailan natin ino-observe ang Nutrition Month?
Nutrition month, yan yung may mga nagbibihis na gulay-gulay, di ba? Ako,
yan.
tanda ko to.
Yung may mga
Pagka July 2 di ba? Oo, kapag July. Tapos kapag dahon ka.
Galing.
Ganun talaga.
Galing ng July.
Doon kasi lumalabas yung mga meme ng mga batang binibihis ng magulang nila, tapos parang pinipinturahan lang na kulay green para magmukhang dahon, pechay, ganun.
Ang lungkot na ngayon kasi 'di ba, August na yung start ng pasukan. So yung
Totoo.
Nutrition Month hindi na nangyayari pag pag pasukan
Bawi
na.
na lang daw sa buwan ng wika.
Mga wika na lang August. Ito, World Suicide Prevention Day.
Nako, parang mahirap to. Day na kasi kapag month, 12 lang yung pagpipilian kong buwan eh. Kaso ito day. Pero ang alam ko parang nasa September to. Tama ba? Tama?
September. Yan, tama. Anong araw ng September?
Araw. Parang feeling ko September 10?
September 10. Galing. Grabe, parang nag-review. Nag-review?
Oo, ganun talaga. Kapag
So,
may
ang World
exam,
Suicide
nag-review
Prevention
dapat.
Day. Yan. World Suicide Prevention Day is September 10. Last two. Ito, kailangan natin to. Global Hand Washing Day.
Hindi ba dapat araw-araw to?
Oo nga eh. Feeling ko pag nangyari to, dapat sabay-sabay. Like,
Ay,
happy
ganun.
birthday to
Parang
you. Di ba ganun?
sabay-sabay all around the world, ganun. Global Hand Washing Day. Actually, parang hindi ako aware dito. Feeling ko ngayon ko lang narinig to. Pero sige, hulaan ko. Lucky guess. Feeling ko 15 yung araw na to eh. 15. Mga October 15?
Grabe yun, lucky guess. Ganun ka ba ka-lucky? Para tumama ka ng October 15. Yeah. October 15 ang Global Hand Washing Day. Ang World Mental Health Day.
Naku, ito yung pinaka-importanting tandaan. World Mental Health Day. Ito, alam ko to. October 10, di ba? Tama ba? Tama?
Galing. World Mental Health Day, October 10. At meron din tayong tinatawag na Mental Health Week, which is second week ng October. Kaya, siyempre, yun na nga, puro mental health.
At dahil napag-usapan na natin, nasimulan na natin yung usapang mental health, mag-proceed na tayo sa ating next segment, ang Zoom In.
Yun, Zoom in na. So,
Yeah.
sinabi na nga ni Kai na ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon ay Zoom in. Di ba?
Oo, tama.
Ano ba yung sa tingin mong mental health? Ano ba yung mental health para sa'yo, Kai?
Pili ko kapag sinabi mental health, dapat parang part siya ng overall na well-being mo, ganon. Na dapat naaalagaan mo rin, kagaya ng physical health, di ba? Ikaw, ano ba mental health para sa'yo?
Ako yung mental health, yun din. Yung overall yung dapat kung meron tayong physical hygiene, kung pinapangalagaan natin ang ating physical na katawan, dapat meron din tayong mental hygiene. Dapat hygienic din tayo mentally.
Tama.
Pero siyempre, baka nagsasawa na naman sila sa pagmumukha natin dito. Magtawag tayo ng mga katambay natin at kakwentuhan
Ayun
natin ngayong
naman.
gabi. Yan. Simulan natin sa mga kaibigan din natin to. Simulan natin sa isang SDG 3 Good Health and Well-being Advocate at isang brand ambassador and fundraiser for various NGOs like the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and SOS Children's Village. Siya ay naging co-founder din of Introspect, isang social media depression campaign, and siya din ang co-founder and director for Happy Hearts Initiative, isang mental health coalition, at siya ang Cavite Regional Deputy Head for Region 4A of the 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines. Tawagin natin si Kier Aventurado.
Ayun
Hello,
naman! Hi,
mga
Kier!
katambay! Magandang
Hello,
gabi!
Kier. Yan. Siyempre, hindi lang si Kier yung kasama natin ngayon. Kasama din natin ang isang graduate ng Bachelor of Arts in English mula sa Polytechnic University of the Philippines at kasalukuyang project officer for implementation for Chris Incorporated. Di ba? Siya yung naggumagawa din siya ng pro bono support sa Asian Development Bank at Public Affairs section of the US Embassy in the Philippines. More than 3 years na. Daming ginagawa nito. Grabe. Katulad ni Kiel, SDG 3 advocate din siya at co-founder and director na Happy Hearts Initiative. Siyempre, Mental Health Coalition and co-founder din ng Introspect. Grabe, kilala ni Kiel siguro to. Parang parehas lang eh. Di ba? Tawagin natin si Marie Pasqua.
Hello!
Hi everyone, good
Hello,
evening.
Marie.
Hello. Good evening sa lahat ng nanonood.
Ayan, so simulan natin, kamusta ba kayo? Start muna tayo kay Kier.
Oh, wait lang.
Ay, bakit?
Wait lang. Chill ka lang, meron pa.
Meron
tayong tinawag na backup. Meron pa. Ganun tayo antindi ngayon. Meron pa. Tawagin natin ang mga isa din sa founder ng Happy Hearts Initiative, si Dr. Via Roderos.
And, hello everyone!
Hi
sa lahat ng viewers.
Hi, ate!
Hello! And syempre, para kumpletuhin ang ating mga guests ngayong gabi, tinatawagan natin ang National Director for Global Goals Initiative ng 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines at SDG 3 Ambassador ng 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines, Commissioner on Commission for Population ng Pilipinas, Commissioner Dex Galban. Hello, Kuya Dex.
Hello, isang magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Hello, nice to be here.
Ayun, ang power. Pwede na ako mga musta.
Pwede na.
Ayan na.
Okay, let's start with Kier. Kamusta ka?
Ayan, buti nabigyan ako ng time na mag-isip kung kamusta ba talaga ako ngayon. Pero ayun, ako ngayon recently, I think, feeling ko I'm coming back. Kasi parang ang tagal kong nawala, ang tagal kasi na natin sa lockdown, ang dami na nangyari na parang sobrang overwhelming na ngayon. Ang daming opportunities na dumadating for me, especially for our team, Happy Hearts Initiative. Ang daming opportunities. Kaya feeling ko, we're coming back na may bigay pa ng mas maraming opportunities for mental health advocates here in the Philippines. Ayun. Kayo ba?
Ikaw
Kamusta?
naman. Okay na, narinig mo na kami kanina. Ano na ngayon? Ikaw, Marie.
Ako, grabe, itong lockdown na to, no? Roller coaster of emotions siya para sa akin.
Yes.
So, minsan I'm okay and minsan I'm not. And ayun, I try to do different things para mag-cope up with everything that's happening.
Ikaw, Kuya Dex.
Grabe.
So, still fighting the good fight, trying to become busy and ensuring na marami tayong nagagawang output. So, of course, I would love to always give time to advocate for the SDGs. And of course, mental health. Lalo na ngayon, we're celebrating a lot of mental health initiatives this October. So, masaya ako na bahagi ang 2030 Youth Force at KURANTALK Media sa pagiging bahagi ng advocacy na to. So, glad to be here. Thanks, everyone.
Ayun naman. Ikaw, Doc Dia.
Yun nga, no? Ang sarap ng may nagkakamusta sa'yo, no? Sana all. Pero eto, we're doing well naman despite everything, no? And it's really very inspiring to have initiatives like this, no, for mental health. At nakaka-inspire na nandito yung mga young advocates natin who are ready to fight the good fight for mental health, no? So nakakawala nga ng pagod.
Yes.
Totoo yung nakakawala ng pagod yung may kumusta sa'yo. Sa comment section, meron mga sumagot din ng kamusta sila. Basahin natin yung sagot ni Vince. Naging guest na din natin isa dito. From before, sabi ni Vince, surviving, pero we can't discount the fact na mahirap pa din being in isolation. Mahirap na wala ng delineation ang work or study space and rest space natin. This is on top sa worries na makakontract tayo ng virus, even our loved ones. Totoo,
Agree.
sobrang hirap ng nung comfort, in the comfort of your homes ka, pero pinipilit mong pumasok, pinipilit mong magtrabaho, ganun. 'Di ba? Sobrang dami. Hello Vince, sana we're all surviving katulad natin lahat. Yan. So, ayun na nga. Kai,
So, ayan.
anong gusto nating pag-usapan ngayong gabi?
Ito na nga. So, na-mention ng ating 4 na guest kanina yung tungkol sa mental health and how this month is the Mental Health Awareness Month. So, ano nga ba yung mental health and ano yung current progress natin as a country on educating everyone on mental health? So, let's start siguro with Kuya Dex.
Okay, wow. Challenging first question, di ba? Kasi when we talk about mental health, according to the WHO definition, it is the state o yung kalagayan of being well or the well-being in which every individual, bawat tao, nare-realize yung kanyang potential to cope with the normal stresses of life so they can go through each day and adapt to the different kind of stressors and paman yun, and can work productively and fruitfully. So it means maganda yung output nila, they are able to fully realize their potential, and of course, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. So it also includes a community aspect. It's not just a sense of being okay by yourself, but of course, putting that in the context of a larger group. So kung isang komunidad tayong lahat. So you can only be truly mentally healthy if all of those are considered. You realize your potential, you can cope with stress, and you can contribute and become part of a community. And that is why we always encourage everyone to become a part of a group, become a part of an organization, a community that can boost you, particularly because as we go through this entire pandemic, definitely the anxiety, the depression, all of these emotions are going to start to pile up, and you're going to need as much help as you can possibly get, because you're not in this alone. Ayan. So I think that's a good opening definition of mental health. And we would definitely have
Yeah.
a lot more definitions from all of the other speakers.
Yes.
Totoo.
Totoo. Very fruitful
Doc
unang
Via,
sagot pa lang, no?
Doc Via, on that definition, ano yung progress natin on educating everyone else here in the country on mental health and yung pag-appreciate ng mga tao on having not just physical health but mental health?
That's really a very timely question, no? Kasi we're gaining traction towards giving importance to mental health, as a lot of mental health groups have already been growing. For example, Happy Hearts, Introspect, lahat yan ay nabuo dahil dun sa necessity to have an accessible mental health service and the need to have a mental health service in our community. So, especially ngayong pandemic, we notice a rise of cases, di ba? This is evident with the increasing calls dun sa NCMH hotline. So, dahil dito nga sa condition natin ngayon, na nabibigyan ng importansya or ng emphasis yung the need for mental health support groups, and it's really very inspiring, no, that a lot of groups and a lot of young people are already joining the battle towards ending mental health stigma in our country, no. So I think there's a lot more that we can do, but then we are gaining the traction already to put it out there. Yeah.
Galing nung ganun, tapos nag-i-initiate na tayo. Tapos
Yes.
punta tayo kay Kier tsaka kay Emery as the people behind the Happy Hearts initiative. Kayo on the youth level, yung mga ka-peers nyo, ano yung level of progress natin on the mental health awareness of people? Emery.
Ako siguro, no, nung in 2016 na-diagnose ako, hindi ko alam na may ganun pala. Honestly, for me, pag sinabi mong bipolar, adjective lang yan eh. Diba? Pabago-bago lang ng mood. Pero, ever since noon, parang ngayon, napakadami ng, katulad nga ng sabi ni Ate Via, napakadami ng youth orgs. Tapos, karamihan sa kanila, nag-i-start at 16, 15. Sila yung gumagawa ng sila yung gumagawa ngayon ng Facebook pages, sila yung gumagawa ng sarili nilang content regarding mental health. Iyon, katulad ng sabi ni Ate Via, sobrang nakaka-inspire. And, napag-uusapan na yung mental health ngayon, unlike before. So, yun.
Yeah. Kier. Ikaw.
Ayun nga, no, tulad ng sinabi din nila, parang summarize ko na lang sinabi nila kasi ang dami na, sobrang meaningful na ng mga sinabi ng kasama natin here tonight. Ayun, no, parang ngayon sa mga kabataan, ayun, sabi nga ni Imari, napag-uusapan na yung mental health. Hindi na siya taboo topic for everyone, no? And pag nag-uusap tayo tungkol sa mental health ngayon, hindi na dumadiretso yung isip natin sa mga mental health institutions, mga facility for people na may psychiatric needs. Hindi na doon dumadiretso yung train of thought natin. Ang iniisip na natin ngayon, this person, kailangan niya ng tulong. And yun yung maganda kasi nag-grow na tayo dun sa tradition natin na pag pinag-usapang mental health, pangbaliw lang yan. Ngayon naiintindihan na natin na iba't iba yung pangangailangan talaga pala ng tao. Hindi lang pag may mental health disability ka, baliw ka na agad. Nakakatawa, nakaka-inspire na yung mga kabataan nag-engage na din sila. And yun nga, ang dami ng advocacy for mental health. And recently, di ba, kakapasa lang nung mental health law natin here in the Philippines. So it's a big step for mental health here in the Philippines. Tsaka, di ba, nakakatawa na lumalayo na tayo, nakakawala na tayo dun sa mga binding traditions natin about and connotations natin about mental health. Ayun.
Yes, agree ako doon na sobrang inspiring ngayon na ang dami ng aware and nag-educate sa sarili nila kung ano nga ba talaga yung totoong meaning ng mental health. So with that, how can we keep ourselves mentally healthy lalo na ngayon? So let's start with Imari muna.
Iba-iba, no? Iba-iba ng paraan. Sabi nga, there's no one fit size solution for ano. So, ako, personally, ang ginagawa ko is, I try to keep myself busy. So, one of the things that I do is I volunteer sa zoo, sa Manila Zoo. So, I go there every Saturday. Pag may anxiety ako for this week, nawawala yung stress ko kasi nilook forward ko yung Sabado ko with the animals. So that's one. I also color. Mahilig ako mag-color. So that's one thing na nawawala din yung stress ko. Tapos pag hindi ako makafocus, pag nagko-color ako, parang may control ako sa ginagawa ko. So that's something, no? For others naman, siguro, I like what I heard from Doc Gia before, na there's a circle of concern and circle of control. So, yung circle of concern, yun daw yung mga bagay na hindi natin makokontrol. It's just a waste of time kung paglalaanan pa natin ng time. So, yung isa naman, yung circle of control, yun naman yung mga bagay na you can control. Kung anong ulamin mo, kung anong gagawin mo, kung anong babasahin mo, panonoodin mo. So, ako, doon na lang ako nag-focus. So, yun yung isa sa mga bagay na talaga nakatulong sa akin sa pag-cope up during this pandemic. So, sana matry din ng iba.
Yes, actually, nakarelate din ako dun sa yung mga circle-circle. Meron palang tawag doon. Ngayon ko lang nalaman yun. Kasi ginagawa ko rin siya, pero hindi ako aware na may tawag pala doon. Ikaw, Kuya Dex, what can you say?
Para sa akin, one of the things that I find most effective is the notion of paying it forward. Apart, of course, from staying busy, apart from trying to become productive in what I do, whether in government or in the private sector, one of the things that I found to be helpful for me is to help train and help mold the next generation of young leaders, particularly mental health advocates. Ito yan. That's why I'm very, very happy and I'm super proud that two of them are with us today, no? Kier and Emery. So, quote unquote, they're my quote unquote kids because I find it like it's my responsibility to help train them and expose them to the deeper dives of the mental health advocacy. And I'm so proud that I now see them doing talks, them hosting events. And for me, that's always something that's good to do and good to see, wherein you help other people. Because in that way, you're also helping yourself. Being able to see how a lot of your effort is translated not only into something that's good for you, but also for others. I think that's always a good strategy when it comes to mental health. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to hit two birds with one stone. Napapaganda mo yung mental health and well-being mo at natutulungan mo pa yung ibang tao. And at the same time, actually three birds, na multiply mo palalo yung number of people championing mental health. And I think if anyone here listening would love to learn more about how to become mental health advocates, you can always reach out to the Happy Hearts Initiative, 2030 Youth Force, Happy Hour, Introspect. Dami ko ng plug. But yeah, basically, we're all here. We're all excited to work with you. And we're part of one family. So let's just keep moving forward.
Yes, ang power.
Galing. Doc Via, yun yung mga ginagawa nila ni Kuya Dex tsaka ni Emery. Ano yung possible practical tips on how do we take care of our mental health? Para sa mga nanonood, ano yung pwede nating magawa, ganun, generally?
You know, the question is really on point. Yeah. So, marami sa atin yung na how do you really take care of your mental well-being, no? Sabi nga nila, in Marie and Dex, no, each of us have our own ways to cope. But one of the things I would always stress about is that having a mental health problem or a condition, no, you have to be very forgiving of yourself, no, especially during these times na these are not normal times. We know that. Parang iba sa atin namimiss ng lumabas. Iba sa atin namimiss na to be in the company of others. And some of us are experiencing mental health concerns because of that. We have to accept the fact that these are expected during these times. And we have to be very forgiving of ourselves. And this is the first step for us to be able to really see how we can explore the ways in which we can take care of our mental health, no? So we have to first be aware that we are experiencing these problems. We have to accept it, and we have to be very forgiving. And I think it will guide us into which trajectory or into which strategy we want to take in terms of taking care of our mental well-being. So yun, love yourself. As always. Always, always love yourself and be kind to yourself.
Ayun. So, ikaw naman, Care, as someone na galing sa Happy Hearts Initiative, anong pwede mong maipayo sa mga nanonood sa atin ngayon kung paano nga ba pwede na mas maalagaan natin yung mental health?
Inuhuli niya talaga ako. Wala na tuloy akong masyadong masabi. Pero, ayun. Parang I'll add na lang din dun sa sinabi ni Ate Via, no? Acknowledge kung ano yung nararamdaman mo. Try to give, yung ginagawa ko kasi what I'm doing, though hindi ko siya lagi nagagawa kasi ang parang go-to coping mechanism ko is parang give yourself to your organization, to your work, ganun. Parang doon ko dinededicate. Iniiwasan ko yung nararamdaman ko. Pero what I've learned is that suppressing kung ano yung nararamdaman mo will just worsen kung ano yung nararamdaman mo pag sumabog na siya sa pagdating ng panahon, ganon. Kaya what I can say, no, acknowledge kung ano yung nararamdaman mo, give names dun sa mga feelings na nararamdaman mo. Like for example, for this day, you're feeling sad. Acknowledge that you're sad. Then just add 2 words. I'm sad for now. Then it changed the narrative It changed the narrative na ngayon lang ako malungkot, bukas hindi na. Diba? It gives hope and it gives something na mapangahawakan natin na dilipas din to. I might experiencing it now, pero maybe baka bukas hindi na. Yun lang.
Yes.
Galing. Galing nung Care.
Iba, diba? Nakuha ko lang sa kanila yun.
Rephrase lang pala, no?
Pero balik tayo dun sa sinabi ni Kuya Dex kanina, yung kanina pa yung as a community, we need to not just check our mental well-being personally, pero dapat involve yung community. With that, paano how can we support each other during this trying times, during this quarantine? As a community itself, ano yung way forward natin as a community? Sige, simulan natin kay Care kasi sabi niya kanina puro sayo. Sayo, tignan natin.
Siguro, no? Ayan tuloy, napaisip ako bigla. Pero ayun, as a community, no? Ngayon kasi, diba, parang ang dami ng organization for mental health and ang daming tao na parang gustong magbigay ng time nila at ng oras nila for others na nakaka-experience ng mental health disorder. What I can say, no, let's be wary lang kung if gusto natin tumulong, let's be aware kung where to draw the lines when you're trying to help people. And we should always be sympathetic dun sa nararamdaman nila. Let's not try na ma-invalidate yung feelings na nararamdaman nila, diba? Ngayon, lalo na sa social media, sobrang dami ng toxic positivity na nagaganap. And it's very, very, it's affecting a lot of people eh. Parang, pag sinabi mong, paano ba? Yung parang ini-impose yung positivity sa isang tao, nababaliwala kasi yung nararamdaman niya for that time eh. Nababaliwala yung experiences niya, yung emotions niya, yung thoughts niya for that moment. Nababaliwala yun. And lalong nakaka-apekto yun sa mental health ng isang tao. And I think we should be very wary kung ano yung mga sinasabi natin and be sympathetic lang sa pag-approach sa mga tao who are experiencing mental health issue, ayun. Ayan, na on the spot tuloy ako.
Na-feel mo yung pressure. Ikaw naman, Macbia, what can you say?
Ang galing naman nung Kier, wala na tuloy ako masagot. Anyway, no, and when it comes kasi to the community, when it comes to mental health rather, it's really about having that sense of community, no. Siguro what we can contribute, no, as part of that is to really look out for each other. Gaya na ng sinabi ni Kier, there are a lot of seminars, webinars currently that would discuss a lot of mental health issues, no, and particularly they're very informative in terms of what to watch out for when we see a member of our community who is experiencing a mental health problem. We have to be very attuned to the needs of the person that is with us. Kasi minsan, uso nga yung saying na we are alone together. Parang together nga kayo, pero hindi naman kayo attuned to each other. Hindi nyo naman napapakinggan. You didn't really listen to what each others are not just saying, but also feeling. So we really have to listen to each other's needs. No, we have to be very sensitive about what they're feeling. No, and what we can do always is that we have professionals whom we can ask help for. Professionals are always a part of the community. They're not an exclusive group. No, yung mga doctors, part dapat sila. Doctors, mental health professionals are part of the community. So because they are part of that, they should be included, no, whenever we seek help, not only for ourselves but also for others.
Ang
Pumasa
power
ba,
na.
Kier? Yeah.
Ikaw naman, Marie. Ano pang pwede mong maidagdag doon?
Copy-paste po. Hindi. Aside from copy-paste, sinabi ni Kier at ni Doc Via, siguro ako, I'm very proud to say na si Happy Hearts, we have a support group. No? Online siya where people can post what they're feeling, na it's a safe space. So whatever you post, parang hindi ka i-judge, people will listen to you, that's something, no? Kasi here's a parang ang Facebook madami din siyang dangers and sometimes dapat mag-take na lang talaga tayo ng break sa social media because pag nag-post ka, 'di ba, parang nakakaano siya. Minsan nakaka-down talaga siya. So I'm very happy na si Happy Hearts, we have a support group wherein people feel safe to share what they're feeling. Tapos, another one is, siguro you have to choose kung sino yung nasa loob ng community mo. So, ayun, masaya ako na I have Kuya Dex, Doc Via, si Kier, because sila yung mga tao na when you tell them what you feel, i-acknowledge nila. And gaya nga ng sabi ni Kier, yung toxic positivity na, Kuya Dex, malungkot ako. Hindi niya ako sinasabihan na, ano ba, okay lang yan. Lilipas yan. Hindi ganon. So, you have to choose the people na comfortable ka and hindi ma-invalidate yung feelings mo. Ayun. And yun, grabe, I'm very proud na sila yung mga taong yun.
Yes. So aside from lahat ng na-mention na nila, Kuya Dex, what else?
Ako naman yung na-challenge. Ako naman yung
Iba
huli.
po yung pressure sa dulo, no? Tsaka sa unahan pala.
I agree. I agree. Well, for me kasi, in terms of community, mahalaga na malaman natin kung ano yung pwedeng maitulong at may ambag ng bawat isa. Particularly because the mental health advocacy is actually really, really massive. There are so many facets to mental health because at the end of the day, everything that we do will have an impact on our mental health. So that is exactly why the approach of the Happy Hearts Initiative, for example, is not to be competitive in terms of being the main mental health organization. The approach really is very collaborative. For example, within that network are multiple mental health organizations all focusing on a particular facet of mental health that hopefully would be amplified through all of the other networks. Like for example, for Happy Hour Philippines, the focus really is more on policy and program development. Paano gumawa ng mga programa, paano gumawa ng mga polisiya for mental health, we help communities, etc. Then we also have introspect that the focus, ito sila Kier, sila Emery, and I think they can tell you more about it later, is that the focus is more on the impact of social media on your mental health. Magkaiba yon. And then you also have the likes of your Spark Empathy, where they try to gamify it and provide another virtual peer support groups. You have your Site Youth Organization that really jumps in and talks about counseling on the notion of catharsis. Marami, napakalawak. Yung iba ang focus nila is on the environment's impact on mental health, the impact, let's say, of family values on sobrang dami. And really, the goal is to bring all of these different facets together. Let's talk about it and let's share our best practices, because advocacy should never be a competition. More so for mental health, because we are after helping as many people as possible. So if there is something new or a special niche that you can contribute, happy to come on board and would be happy to assist you. And that's why this event, sobrang ganda nito. Kudos to QUARANTALK Media and of course to 2030 of course for having us here today.
Yes. sabi nila Emery kanina, kayo yung mga kasama niya. Baka nakalimutan natin, may mga nagko-comment kasi. Kasama din daw siya. Si Paul. Hi Paul. Kasama daw siya sa mga... Baka makalimutan natin siya. We empower the youth. Katulad nga ng sinabi ni Kuya Dex kanina na maraming mga organizations, we empower them. But how do we empower the youth pa and lift each other up without that so-called toxic positivity? Paano mangyayari yun? In this time na medyo ang tagal na natin, 201 days na nga tayong nasa quarantine. Tapos madaming mga nagsasabi na mayroon ng toxic positivity. So in that case, does it invalidate our feelings? Parang mga ganon. How do we empower everyone else, empower the youth, and lift each other up without that toxic positivity? Ate Via, since ate lang daw. Ano yung, how do we do that without that toxic positivity notion?
This is very tough, no? Kasi how do we draw the line between supporting someone who's going through a mental health condition and actually being positively toxic or very toxic in terms of how you provide that support? What we always encourage, no, in Happy Hearts and in all of the organizations that we would be partnering with, is that having that notion of being available, being ready to be with that person or to guide the person through whatever he's experiencing. Parang, para sa atin kasi parang the notion of being there may not be enough. Pero believe me when I say na pag alam mo na merong tao na always ready to be there to help you, that actually lifts up most of the burden of it. Kasi we cannot stress this enough na hindi natin pwedeng ipilit yung isang tao to open up to us. And hindi natin pwedeng ipilit sa isang tao to feel for example, to feel something that they need to feel or to overcome something when hindi pa nila kaya. So the mere fact that you reach out to them, just kahit yung simple kamusta ka or nandito lang ako if you need anything, is I think more than enough for people to be able to reach out to you, no? Kasi yun nga, communication and being helpful to one another, like communication is a two-way street, no? You have to both extend your hand, your intentions to be able to reach out to one another, no? So avoiding toxic positivity for me does not necessarily mean na parang sasabihin mo na, uy, kaya mo yan, because hindi mo alam kung anong nararamdaman ng isang tao. So by being there, no, would eliminate that need to force onto the other person na kaya nila. Yeah.
Mm. Ang galing nung ganon, no? On that note, I'll ask Imari a different side of that question. How do, as someone, kunwari, tayo, as struggling with our mental health, how do we um, be there to someone struggling also with mental health? Kasi, syempre, you cannot give, di ba, you cannot give what you don't have, eh. Parang ganon. So, paano pag parehas kayong struggling? Paano yun? How do we, yes, you're there with each other, pero, ano yung, paano din paano ka magko-cope up on doing that? Or how can you be there kung hindi mo din kayang maging andun ka? Parang ganun siya.
Ako, sasagot ako ulit by experience, pero gusto ko lang muna mag-add dun sa sinabi ni Ate Bia kanina na yung sa pagpilit. Siguro first of all, hindi niyo ako makakausap ngayon if it weren't for the people na talagang nandyan para sa akin. So, na hindi ako pinilit, gano'n. One example is, silang tatlo. Si Kier, si Kuya Dex, si Ate Bia. There are days na talagang I'm at my lowest, pero hindi naman nila ako finorce na tawagan, kausapin, pilitin na maging okay, pilitin magkwento, hindi. And hindi din naman siya ganun kadali. Hindi naman ako agad naging komportable sa kanila. Pero sila yung mga tao na, dear, if may kailangan ka, andito kami. If kailangan mo ng kausap, 24 hours tawagan mo kami. If hindi ka okay, tawagan mo kami. So, nung time na sobrang down ko, nung time na, alam mo yon, yung nasa verge ka na ng pagsa-self-harm, tas pag wala ka nang maisip, sila yung naisip kong tawagan. Di ba? Tas parang, totoo yung sinabi ni Ate Bia, don't force yourself sa mga tao na hindi pa ready because time will come na pag ready na sila yung lalapit sa'yo and sobra nilang ma-appreciate yung tulong mo. So, minsan nakala mo na parang wala lang yung, Rans, kamusta ka? Tapos hindi ka nag-reply. Okay, sabi mo, okay lang. O, pag kailangan mo, nandito ako Akala mo minsan wala lang yun eh. Pero napakalaking impact nun sa isang tao na dumaranas ng mental health problem. So, yung second question mo naman, struggling ako, struggling ka, paano yung gano'n? Mahirap talaga yon. Pero, ah, isa sa siguro sa mga case, by experience again, ako tsaka si Kier, may mga times na nakakasabay kami ng episodes. Hindi ko pinipilit kay Kier na kausapin niya ako. Hindi ko din siya pinipilit na kausapin ko siya. Sinasabi ko lang na, Kier, if ready ka na, if kailangan mong kausap, andito ako. If anong kailangan mong tulong, nandito ko. Tapos ganun din siya minsan. Tapos pag okay na ako mentally, kunwari the next day, Kier, okay na ako. Tapos ganun lang. Hindi kami yung masyadong technical. Hindi kami yung masyadong sentimental, hindi ganon. Ayun. Again, by experience lang.
Yeah. Thank you, Imari, for sharing yung ganun. Merong question. Kaya ikaw nga yung magbasa ng question.
Ito, meron tayong question from the comments. So, may nagtanong, when in a relationship, how do you look after each other's mental and emotional needs or your well-being? So, paano nga ba yun? Pagka ganun,
Kuya
diba
Dex,
maraming
ikaw.
relationship na toxic.
Marie,
ganun
can you
daw?
comment? Wala ako eh. Marie, can you comment?
Sige.
Sige, game. I'll try my best to answer that question. No? Kasi tabi po sa lahat ng walang jowa o sa lahat ng mga naghahanap ng jowa. But it doesn't really matter if you're in a relationship or not, no? And I'd like to expand this question a little bit more in terms of mental health advice. My advice in general is to find your constants. When I say constants, that's with an S. Hindi lang isang tao. Right? Hindi lang isang tao. Bakit? Because that is the reason why we advocate for support groups. If you're going to look deeper into it, no, bakit masakit kapag nag-break kayo ng jowa? Bakit masakit kapag nag-away kayo sa pamilya? Bakit masakit kapag nagkakagulo kayo sa org o kaya hindi kayo magkakasundo ng mga kabarkada mo o mga kaklase mo? Diba? Because you usually go to these people or these persons because you find them or consider them as your constants. Mga taong pupuntahan mo, maaasahan mo, matatawagan mo at any time, who may not necessarily be there all the time, but you know that somehow, some way, you're going to get that support that you need. So that's the entire notion of needing or having a support system, having your constants. So kung wala kang support system at home, kung wala kang support system within your organizations, you can find support groups that we offer, for example. But let's go back to the question because feeling ko medyo malaman tong tanong na to eh. When in a relationship, how do you look out for each other's mental health? Medyo intense. Well, half of the time, it's just showing up, right? And when I say show up, that doesn't necessarily mean na nakabuntot ka sa kanya forever. Because that's one, impractical, also second, it's weird. Because you need space for both of you to grow. And apart from that, it's also very important to highlight how you are supposed to be open with each other when it comes to communication. Sobrang key talaga yung communication ay nakaka-relieve or nakakawala ng bigat sa dibdib wherein you would have, especially in a committed relationship, you are with an individual na alam mo, wala kang kailangang itago. Kung inis ka ngayon, hindi inis ka. Kung galit ka, hindi galit ka. Kung malungkot ka, malungkot ka. Kung gutom ka at gusto nyo kumain ng marami together, sige, go. Yan. So you have to have that person na walang barriers. And of course, it's going to take a lot of work. No, you have to spend a lot of time with each other. Really focus on why you're together. You share your goals. You understand what the other one is doing or what the other person is advocating for or what their family can be like. It's really a lot of spending time getting to know. As in, alam mo yung times wherein wala kayong ibang gagawin kung hindi maupo at magkwentuhan. Of course, nung wala hawak-hawak na cellphone at scroll lang kayo ng scroll separately, right? But I really mean talk, as in talk with each other, really nitpick each other's brain. That would be good. At sa mga naghahanap ng mga magiging partners, mga magiging jowa nila, I highly suggest that you do not talagang nag-life advice. I highly suggest that for your own mental health and well-being, you find another person who you share values with. As in, you do not only end up together because wala lang, kasi siya yung malapit, siya yung available. O kaya, Shem yung panga niya sobrang ganda. O Shem ang puti niya, Shem ang ganda niya. Okay na, kahit ano pa man siya, tatanggapin ko kasi Shem ang hot niya. No, that should not be your basis in terms of looking for a partner. No? You really have to find the similarities and the shared values. Kasi dun, when it gets tough, dun kayo work together. That's where you're going to find each other. So, wow, haba na ng sinabi ko. Ang daming drama. Maraming hugot. Ayun.
Advice.
So, by the way, sa next episode, magkagawa tayo dito sa QUARANTALK MEDIA, no? Mga Dr. Love, magaganon tayo dito soon. Sige. But for me, general broad strokes, ganun yung advice ko for those in relationships.
Ang dami namang alam ni
Galing,
Doc
no?
Dec. Saan mo ba yun na ano?
Kaya nga.
By experience ba yun?
Sana all.
Yun nga. Maybe I can, I can,
Wait lang po. Kier, okay ka po, Kier? Kier, okay ka pa, Kier?
Baka, okay lang. Baka nakapanood.
available po siya. Ang number po niya ay 0917. Charot.
Ate Pia, ikaw.
Okay. No, ang daming, si Dex, grabe experience niya, no? Siguro ang swerte ng girl niya.
Swerte po talaga. Swerte din po ni Kuya Dex dun sa girl niya.
Bakit po may ganito dito? Ba't biglang ganun yung mga
Bakit ganito
banat
bigla yung
dito?
usapan? Anyway, sabi nga ni Ellie Goulding, no, how long do I love you? Charot. Anyway, in a relationship, am I an expert? Anyway, in a relationship, you have to recognize it won't always be good. And there won't always be fun and games. Hindi palaging malambing lang siya sa'yo. You also have to understand that there are values that would differ. No? You have to also understand that sometimes there are perspective na hindi maaring magkatugma. So important nga na you always tell your significant other kung ano yung nararamdaman mo na nasa kaibuturan ng puso mo. You have to be very honest. You have to be very honest with the person that you're in a relationship with. And this is not limited to significant other, pwedeng nanay, pwedeng tatay. Pero, nandun na rin naman tayo sa question na yon. Sige, sa significant other, you have to listen also and to be very honest with what you feel. Kasi it's the only way for you to be able to, the only way for them to be able to understand you and to respond to you, no? And it doesn't have to be necessarily in a very forceful manner kasi usually 'di ba pag may hindi nagkakaintindihan, very very forceful, no? Feeling ko na experience ni Kuya Dex yung alam niya in a relationship, hindi sila nag-aaway, they would just talk it out even if they have a misunderstanding. So I think that's important. You always have to be honest with what you feel, and at the same way, your partner has to be very much open and very candid with you also. And you have to listen. Not only, hindi listening na naririnig mo lang, you also have to understand his side. And that's how communication, good and healthy communication can work between the two of you. Paano ko to alam? Wala naman akong ganyan. Anyway.
Pwede bang makidagdag kahit walang jowa? Pwede bang magbigay ng answer kahit walang jowa?
Wait lang. Paano ka magdadagdag? Wala kang jowa.
Ay, relationship naman pwedeng, friends, ganyan. Platonic relationship, ganyan.
Friend zone.
Walang atakihan. Tanong personal lang.
Late night talks.
Pero ayun, no, pag halimbawa kayong dalawa, you're in a relationship, always look for red flags. Always look out for like red flags. Dapat alam mo kung ano yung red flags for your significant others or for your friends, your family. Kasi pag invested ka sa isang tao, parang you're being, nagiging observant ka kung ano yung actions niya, ano yung mga reactions niya sa iba't ibang bagay, and you should take note of that. And through that, I think, mag-work yung relationships niyo pag alam mo yung boundaries mo, alam mo yung red flags niya, alam mo kung saan siya magre-react ng iba. Ganon. And I think that applies hindi lang sa significant others mo, but to your family, to your friends, di ba? Ayun.
Ready na ba?
Ready na ako.
Guys.
So sa lahat na po ng nanonood,
available.
Ayan,
message
pag-flash
nyo
po
lang daw
natin
po.
yung number ko. Joke lang.
Pero
Again, it's 0917, number ni Pierre. Or you can email him at.
Lastly, maganda tong last question natin with this. Marie, how can you to someone who has struggles with their mental health, how can you tell that someone na you cannot be there for them?
Ang hirap naman nito. Pero napakaganda ng question mo. Feeling ko, better yan masasagot ng isang health professional.
Na-practice natin to. Na-practice natin.
Hindi. Feeling ko masasagot talaga siya ni Kuya Dex or ni Ate Bia. Kasi personally, hindi ko siya magawa. Ako as a person.
Yeah.
Parang hirap ako na mag-decline. Na,
True.
Lalo na pag yung tao is very, parang, hindi mo alam kasi kung ano na yung state niya eh. Di ba? Baka sinasabi lang niya na malungkot siya and pero deep inside, baka mamaya may ginagawa na siyang So, hindi ko, ako lang, hindi ko I don't decline people. Yun lang.
Yeah. Kuya Dex.
Challenging talaga yan because especially for if you know your enneagrams, for example, mahirap yun sa mga type 2s, for those who really thrive in helping others or really love helping out others. Napakahirap to be there for someone while you yourself are struggling. So the question says, how can you tell someone who struggles with your mental health that you cannot be there for them? Perhaps what is good to communicate is that you cannot be there for them right now, right? It's not that you cannot be there for them or that you do not want to be there for them. It's just that what you might say or what you might do to help in assisting them may actually cause more harm to them than good because you yourself are currently struggling at that particular time. So a good way to do this would be also to at least surface level express to them that you are currently struggling with something as well, but to offer them that hopefully we could talk about this another time, probably when I'm a bit better and hopefully when you're also a bit better. Kung sino na lang mauna siguro would be able to help each other. And that's why it's good to have, this actually highlights no why it's important to have constants with an S. Because if you only rely on one person, no, and this doesn't necessarily have to be a jowa or significant other, it can be family members, brother, sister, anyone outside the home. What we hope to prevent kasi is that notion of dependence. O yung, kumbaga, the other person is back into the corner na, okay, sige, I have to swallow my feelings and emotions. I will not deal with what I'm currently feeling right now because there's someone else that also has a mental health problem. And what if ganun palagi na one-way siya because mas frequent yung episodes ng isa? May ipon. And that's why it's good to have a support group, not a support person, but a support group. So at any given time, for example, if ever I, via Kier Emery, example, we're going through something, alam namin na pwede kong takbuhan si Via, pwede kong takbuhan si Kier or si Emery. And actually, anyone in the 2030 Youth Force, no? Because you know that they're going to be there. Probably may not be as close, but yung may masasabihan ka man lang. Yun kasi yung usual na napapansin namin, especially when we have kamustahan sessions, na sometimes, kung sino pa yung mga kasama nila sa bahay, sila pa yung hindi nila masabihan. Kung sino pa yung part ng barkada, sila pa yung hindi masabihan. Kung sino pa yung jowa nila, sila pa yung hindi masabihan. O yung, sila pa yung reason kung ba't sila nagkakaroon ng mental health concerns. So, establish and find your support systems, your support groups, because you cannot always be there for them all the time. But you can tell them that you can be there for them when you can and whenever you can.
Ang daming learning,
Ang galing.
sobrang dami.
Ate Via, may dadagdag ka ba sa sinabi ni Kuya Dex?
Yeah, sige. I think Dex pretty much said a good chunk of it, no? But siguro, just to add to what he said, no? The importance of being in a community is to be able to share the load with others also. Kasi nga, sabi nga nila, there are Supermans, Wonder Womans of this, Wonder Women of this world. Who takes care of them? Sino nag-aalaga kay mga Superman natin? Sino mga Superman natin? Sino nag-aalaga kay who takes care of the people who take care of us? So that is very difficult, no? That's why the importance of community should be highlighted. Kasi in that you share the burden. For example, if I'm not okay. There is someone whom I can, and then someone asks help from me. I know there is someone who can help me and the person who asks for help at the same time. No, so that's the beauty of having a community that has very healthy and open communication. No, being a community, sabi nga nila, ohana means family, nobody gets left behind or forgotten. So that is the essence of leaving no one behind. And that is the essence of having a shared responsibility in terms of looking out for one another. Yeah.
Yes. So, ayun no, before we end this session, meron pa ba kayong any quick message to everyone who's watching? So, let's start with Gare. Para naman masabi niyang nauna siya.
I'm available for
Ayun,
dates,
if
gano'n.
you're lonely,
Mag-plug ka na,
ganyan.
Kier.
Joke lang. Pero ayan, siguro to wrap it up na lang, no, find your people. Always look out for your people. Find your people. Don't build your community by numbers. Hindi to paramihan. But build them by quality. Look for people who can be your constant, 'di ba? Look for people na nandiyan lagi para sa'yo. Or kahit hindi lagi nandiyan para sa'yo, pero they got your back, 'di ba? Alam niyo 'yun, when someone got your back, always got your back, iba yung pakiramdam nun eh. Iba yung dala nun sa taong nagsasuffer from mental health disorder. Iba na yung dala nung alam nila na may taong nandiyan, nag-iintay lang para sa akin. Iba yung dating nun for a person na nag-struggle from mental health disorder. So, build your people not by numbers but by quality. Ayun. Thank you very much ulit for inviting us.
Yes, thank you, Ren. Ikaw naman, Marie, what can you say?
Thank you po sa pag-invite sa amin. Yan, and sa lahat ng nanonood, never ever ever give up. Kasi there are people who are willing to listen to you, there are people who are willing to help you, and there are people who are experiencing the same thing na na-experience mo. Ayun, if ever you need help, you can always reach us sa Happy Hearts Initiative. You can check our page, and then ayun.
Ayun guys, check niyo daw yung page nila ha.
Yeah. So, Kuya Dex, ikaw, quick last message.
A quick last message. So, sa lahat ng mga naghahanap po ng jowa at mga nahihirapan nyo yung quarantine, at ito po hindi para lamang kay Kier, ang charot ay hindi gamot sa anumang uri ng harot. Joke lang. That's hindi yung final message ko. Joke lang. But when it comes to mental health, apart from what Kier and Emery have said, no, about finding your community, finding your people or your constants, it's also good to find out or to realize that you must be able to define your feelings. You must be able to acknowledge your feelings because your opinions, your feelings and emotions are valid, right? So never ever think that what you are experiencing is not justified. And you really need to allow yourself to be vulnerable. Mahirap magpaka-strong all the time. And to become vulnerable is actually a way for you to acknowledge that you're also human and that you have needs. You know, mahirap maging superhuman all the time, and you cannot always depend on yourself solely, right? Sabi nga nila, no man is an island, no person is an island. And with that being said, it's always essential for everyone, especially to everyone listening here, and those who are having a more intense feeling of sadness, more intense feeling of anxiety, that there will be people to help you. And if they are not in the form of support groups, and if you feel like you need to consult with a health professional already, do so. There is no harm in doing that. You can contact us. We can link you to free, although limited, mental health services. We can also link you to paid mental health services. But seeking help is actually a sign of strength, not weakness. Again, seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Hindi mo dapat ikinahihiya na humihingi ka ng tulong, whether from your family, friends, or a health professional. And always remember, hindi ka nag-iisa. Hindi ka nag-iisa. We're here for you.
Yes.
Lastly, Ate Via.
I know, ang gaganda ng sinabi ng mga speakers natin. Siguro to just tie it all up, no? What I can say to everyone who's listening right now is be kind to others as much as you be kind to yourself. And in all ways, love yourself because you cannot give something that you don't have in the same way that you cannot love someone when you don't love yourself, no? But if you can't love yourself right now, trust in the people who love you and who is there to support you. So, because we always recognize that we are a community and there will always be people who are ready to help you and who are ready to love you. So, be kind to one another, be kind to yourself, love yourself, and trust the people who love you.
Yes, agree. So again, thank you sa inyong apat. Sobrang dami naming natutunan today. Sobrang daming pwedeng i-apply. Ang dami pang pwedeng mas intindihin, di ba, Rans?
Totoo, sobrang dami. Sobrang dami nga namin natutunan. Sige, shout out natin yan later. Yan. Thank you, Kier, Ate Via, Kuya Dex, Emily, for sharing your time and your experiences with us this episode of SDG Online Tambayan. Yan. So, for our last segment, let's go to tea time. Yan. So,
Hello, Rand.
hello, yan. So, wala si Franz ngayon. Wala ang ating resident taga-Tsaa. So,
Yes.
tayo mag-Tsaa ngayon. Pero, bago yan, medyo marami tayong isa-shout out ngayong gabing ito. Shout out kay Ann Flores. Sabi niya, let's go, Emery. Naks na daming fans ni Emery. Tapos, kay Vince ulit. Uh, kay Paul. Paul, shout out. Alam, salamat sa iyo, Paul. Paul, mag-guest ka ulit sa episode namin. Pag-usapan ulit natin ang environment.
Yeah.
Hello, Paul, and kay Vince ulit. And kay Santiago MD Darby, congrats. A very fruitful discussion on a very relevant issue. Totoo.
Agree.
And sabi ni Vince, thank you for this episode, SDGOT and QT Media. Ikaw, Kai, ano yung
Totoo.
mabilis lang? Ano yung natutunan mo this episode?
Actually, ang pinaka-takeaway ko talaga ngayon is dapat kung paano natin inaalagaan yung ibang tao, yung mental health ng ibang tao. Dapat ganun din tayo sa sarili natin. Hindi pwedeng laging iba lang or laging tayo lang. Dapat together, ganun. Alone together. Charot. Hindi. Dapat lagi tayong together in facing yung mga challenges na meron tayo, di ba? Ikaw, Baran?
Ako few things. Una, kailangan natin makinig. We need to listen. We need to makinig sa mga paligid natin, ganun, makiramdam, etc. Pangalawa, we need to, in order for us to listen, kailangan may nagko-communicate sa atin. Hindi, may gap pag hindi natin nako-communicate yung feelings natin to others. Para rin sa ikabubuti natin, peace of mind, and yung mental well-being natin, we need to communicate it. And lastly, yung sinabi kanina na seeking help is not a weakness but rather is a strength. Isa sa mga pumapasok sa utak ko kanina habang nagdi-discussion tayo is yung practice naming magkakaibigan na hindi naman magkakaibigan, kundi yung tinatanong namin kung ready ka bang i-absorb. Like, kaya ba ng mental capacity mo mag-absorb right now? Kasi nung tinanong yung, how can you be there kung struggling yung isa, tapos sasabihin mo, you cannot be there for them. Pwede siyang baliktad na proactively na tatanungin mo naman yung taong yon na, are you ready? Parang, kaya ba ng mental capacity mong mag-absorb ngayon? Ganon. Ready ka bang makinig sa akin? Mga ganong bagay. Para in a way, natutulungan mo yung sarili mo. Parang ina-acknowledge mo yung feelings mo na kailangan kung may kausap. Pero sinasabi mo din sa kanila na kailangan ko ng kausap, ready ka ba makipag-usap sa akin? Parang gano'n. So pag hindi siya ready, doon papasok yung constants na hindi lang isang tao yung pwede mong kausapin. Pwede din sa mga GCs, ganun. Kasi safe space naman siya. Di ba?
In agree,
Ikaw,
dun
Kai, ano ba?
pumapasok yung, dun pumapasok yung, parang sinabi ko na, dapat inaalagaan mo rin yung, hindi lang yung sarili mo mental health, pero dapat inaalala mo rin yung mental health ng ibang tao. Hindi mo pwedeng i-impose sa kanila yung problema mo, di ba? At yung dinadala mo.
And yun nga, bago tayo matapos, di ba? Last pa shoutout tayo.
Yes.
Galing kay Doc Via kanina. Shoutout kay Uni Patron, Eunice, Jean Patron, John Carlos Santa Ana, and sa pinaka-poging si Marjo. Next time, isasama natin si Marjo para hindi tayo maiinggit, Imari. Sama natin si Marjo sa ating episode para hindi ka mainggit. Kasi, syempre, ganun. Para masaya tayo lahat. Yan.
Yes.
So, guys, ano pang saan nila tayo pwedeng makita?
Ayan. So, kung gusto niyo pa ng mas maraming content tungkol sa iba't ibang mga relevant topics na pinag-uusapan, pwede niyo kami makita sa Facebook, fb.com/youthforceph. Nasa Twitter at Instagram din kami at youthforceph. And sa Spotify and Apple Music, search niyo lang 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines Incorporated para sa aming Humans for SDGs podcast. And to be a member of 2030 Youth Force, just sign up at bit.ly/YFPH membership. So, ayan, dyan sa ilalim.
Ang 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines ay nag-oorganisa ng SDG Bayanihan Summit. 8 days na lang sa opening ng SDG Bayanihan Summit. So, hindi lang po Shopee at Lazada ang inaantay po natin sa 10:10. So, pati po ang SDG Bayanihan Summit. Live po tayo sa Facebook. Mapapanood po ang opening ceremonies ng SDG Bayanihan Summit sa Facebook page ng 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines at SDG Bayanihan Summit. At hindi lang yan ang inaantay natin linggo-linggo. Inaanyayahan din natin ang lahat manood ng shows ng QUARANTALK MEDIA. Tuwing Monday, 9 p.m., QUARANTALK with Jules Giang and Ea Antonio. Tuwing Tuesday, 9 p.m. din, The Main Agenda with Ate Main Derunya. Tuwing Wednesday, ang 7 p.m. Kilos Kabataan with Jules Giang. At 9 p.m. tuwing Wednesday, ang QT Earth with Sir Rodney Galicia. Tuwing Thursday naman, ang Throwback Kasaysayan ay 9 p.m. with Professor Francisco Jaime Giang. And nag-break sila kahapon pero makikita nyo ulit sila next week tuwing 10:30 p.m. ang Inuman with Thais and Rafi. At syempre, Friday, tayo ang SDG Online Tambayan at ang pinakabagong show ng QUARANTALK Media tuwing Sabado ng 9 p.m. ang Radyo Comelec. Kasama natin ang Comelec dyan. Pag-usapan natin ng iba't ibang voters, education, and tungkol sa election. Yan. So ayan. Sobrang saya ng episode natin, Kai. Di ba?
Oo, ang dami talaga nating natutunan. Sobrang daming i-absorb, daming pwedeng i-apply, di ba?
Yan. So, hindi na ako makaintay na i-share pa ito sa iba't ibang mga kaibigan natin, ganun. So, if you're here, your feelings are valid. Lahat ng feelings natin valid and don't invalidate the feeling of others. This has been your SDG Online Tambayan Season 2. Thank you.
Bye-bye!